Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on with my very short series of northeast of England beers, and for this one we're sticking to the main part of the city of Newcastle, and this one should be a very interesting beer for us to try. We're going to go to Tyne Brewery and we're having a taste of their Mocha Milk Stout today, and this one should be a very good beer. It was rated on Rate Beer at 94, and I'd never heard of this brewery before, so when you find a beer from a brewery that you've never heard before that is rated so high, it's something that really does kind of spark your interest. So I'm very interested to see what this guy is all about today. And I actually got this beer from and Glug, which is a really nice little gourmet food shop and beer shop in the Granger Market in Newcastle. Very nice people own it. They've got a good selection of local things, Belgians, Germans, you name it, they've got it. But go and check them out. The link to their Facebook page is in the video description below. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Tyne Brewery. This is the first time I'm ever trying one of their beers, so I'm sure there will be many more reviews to come. And there's all the usual social media things, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd, so please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and if you do want to see more beer reviews, please subscribe to the channel. And to those of you watching in the north of England, please do suggest some other beers and brewery so that you guys would like me to have a look at. I know there's a lot of good breweries in England, and unfortunately we just don't hear a lot about a lot of them up here in Scotland, and I live in Sweden of course as well, so it's quite hard to get a hold of some of the really good English craft beer, but these guys I've heard are pretty awesome, so do be sure to check out those links in the description below. But anyway, to tell you about Tyne Brewery, this brewery was founded in 2011 by former chemical engineer Julia Austin, and she'd previously worked for Nissan's paint division and also for Arizona Chemicals over in the US, and apparently she went on holiday and visited Granville Island Brewery in Vancouver, and it was there that she was bitten by the beer brewing bug. So encouraged by her engineer husband, she decided to quit her job and found her own company, and this was actually during a downturn in the whole chemical engineering market, so it was a very good time for her, and the brewery have proved to be very popular amongst the locals down in Northumberland and Tyneside. But she trained in brewing at Brewlab in Sunderland, quite a famous brewing school these days actually, and she trialled a few of her early beers in the museum vaults in Sunderland and also in the Cumberland Arms in Biker, and they received much positive response. But the new company then purchased the assets of Hadrian and Borders Brewery, and soon after the brewery employed Mark McGarry as their head brewer, and he was quite an avid surfer apparently and had travelled the world quite a lot, but he left in 2014 to found his own company, Almasty Brewing Company. But despite his departure, the brewery have continued to grow very, very strongly, and their new head brewer is called Adam, and he's developing his own beers as well, but Mike's recipes are still very strongly represented too. So these guys are a fairly new brewery, but they're very highly rated. They've got a good core range of beers as well. They've got the Single Blonde, the Monument, the Dark Brown Ale, Pacifica and the Silver Dollar. Those are their 6 core beers, and they've also got a special series and occasional beers too. This one is a member of the special series range, so it should be quite interesting. So let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself now. So this one is the Mocha Milk Stout, like I told you. It weighs in at 6%. It says on the side here, dark sweet milk stout with chocolate, coffee and vanilla notes, brewed with Terra Bruzzi, a Brazilian coffee bean selected and roasted by Pomfries of Newcastle to complement and enhance these flavours. 100% pure cocoa powder and whole vanilla pods are used to give this beer the characteristics of a Mocha Milk Stout. Tyne Brewery, Newcastle. So should be pretty awesome. 6% ABV. I like the little sort of DNA spiral that they've put on this. It's a plain bottle cap. I'll just check that you're seeing that nicely on the camera before we open it up. There you can see the Tyne Brewery symbol there. There's the little blurb I read to you. Mocha Milk Stout. The nice DNA kind of symbol going on there. But yeah, this one should be really nice. And it tells you, yeah, it's on St Lawrence Road, the brewery. It's a very small brewery in an industrial estate apparently. So yeah, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting then. So as you can see, a nice kind of smoky opening there, but we'll get this guy out and into the glass. But as I've said on a few of these kind of north of England reviews that I've done for you, it really is quite hard to get some of the really kind of lesser known and very good English craft beer. There's so many good English craft breweries out there these days that don't brew in the sort of the kind of old school English real ale style. The ones that brew the American style beers tend to be very, very good, like Mad Hatter in Liverpool, Beavertown in London, all of these sort of breweries, and I've heard very good things about this brewery too. So hopefully they actually start to take off now, which should be quite interesting. So let's have a wee look at this beer itself, and I'm sure it will be very good. Like I told you, rated 94 on Rate Beer. So as you can see, this beer poured a really nice sort of rosewood ebony colour. If I hold it up to the light, there is a little bit of a ruby edge, but you're not going to be able to see that too well on the camera. There's a quarter finger of a frothy beige tan head, but that's going to fade away to be a very thin foamy layer. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but quite a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, it appears like a very nice beer. And we'll give it a smell now. So without sugaring it up, you've got a nice, quite roasted malty aroma. The coffee actually comes across as very, very smooth, and those of you who are better with your coffee aromas will be able to pick out that this is a kind of distinctly mocha aroma. I actually went along, my friend worked in a coffee shop in Sweden, and I actually went along and asked him to teach me about the different types of coffee and their aromas, because I don't drink coffee at all, but you really can smell the mocha aroma in here. It's always good to train yourself like that when it comes to kind of sensory analysis if you want to give it its kind of proper term. But this beer has a really nice, quite smooth roasted coffee element to it, which is exactly what you would expect. So behind that, you can smell some of the sweet chocolate. There's a nice, it's almost like a milky chocolate, but there is an element of dark chocolate to it as well, and quite roasted. But yeah, there's sweet chocolate in there, there's definitely some vanilla. There's maybe a little bit of a woody and kind of nutty aroma coming out of this beer as well. There's a little bit of earthy hop, and you can also pick out just a little bit of the bready notes, but as you would expect with it being a Mocha milk stout, the predominant aromas really are the kind of lactose character. They will have put lactose in this beer when it is a milk stout, of course, but it's the really smooth Mocha coffee beans that you're getting out of this one. Those Brazilian coffee beans smell really nice, but the nice vanilla and milky notes are coming out of this one. So let's just put the last little bit of this into the glass, and then we'll get on with the tasting here. As I said, I'm quite excited to try this one. This beer was rated at 94 on Rate Beer. When it's a brewery I've not heard of, I'm obviously very interested to see what this guy's like. So this is the Mocha Milk Stout from Tyne Brewery in Newcastle in Northern England. Slange it. Yeah, that is, just on first taste, that's a very nice beer, that. As I always say, when it comes to these dark beers, sugar them around your mouth a little bit and just let your whole palate adjust to the flavour of this beer. It's particularly important when you drink dark beers, because if you just taste it straight off, your palate really hasn't adjusted to it. You'll get a big dark roasty bitterness, but then you won't get some of the sweeter characters that come out a bit later on. But don't think too much about the flavour on the first few sips. Think about it a bit more when you start to get into the beer. But my first impression of this beer, the first thing that stands out to me is just how smooth this beer is. It's got a really beautiful silky mouthfeel, and it has a real balance between these roasted flavours and the sweeter aspects of the brew as well. This is very nicely done. To have such a high rating on Rate Beer just tells you how good quality this beer is, and for me, having tried about 650 beers now for you roughly, I hope you'll take my word for that. This is a damn good beer. Especially for somebody who actually doesn't really like coffee as well. But yeah, this is really nice. So initially, you have a nice roasted malt aroma in there, which is exactly what you would expect. Everything that you find from the aroma in this beer comes out in the flavour. Like I was saying, it's interesting because the coffee flavour in this one, or the coffee aroma, came across as very smooth, and the aroma comes out exactly the same. So the middle of your palate is just blanketed with this almost kind of rye bread character. There is a little bit of sweetness to that, and it's probably the vanilla that's coming out on top of it, but you have a nice, slightly sweet, cereally bready aroma in here. And you can taste the woody and nutty flavours on top of that. The coffee, you can feel, you get a sweetness out of this one. It almost tastes as if there's a little bit of caramel in here, but I'm pretty sure there's no caramel malt or anything added to this beer, but you can taste just a little bit of an almost caramel brown sugar sweetness as you go down the middle of the tongue. The beer comes in, you're blanketed with this really quite sweet bready character. It almost builds to be just a little bit caramel, and then you get the sweet milky chocolate on top of that, and then the vanilla starts to come out, but then all of a sudden you get the coffee bitterness just starting to build in this one, and that really comes out in the aftertaste. Those nice mocha flavours take a little while to appear, and it works really nicely. As I said, the mouthfeel of this beer is absolutely perfect. They've got a really nice, very smooth and quite creamy mouthfeel to this one. It's really something else, this beer. I enjoy sweet stouts, and this one actually, I don't know if I would necessarily describe this as a sweet stout. It's almost a bit like a hybrid between a coffee stout and a sweet stout, but the main thing is, you can argue about styles all day, this beer is pretty damn good, so give it a try if you come across it. It's one of their special beers, so just keep an eye out for it, and I'm sure you will find it at some point fairly soon. But yeah, that is really nice. If you get the chance and you enjoy sweet stouts and you like a little bit of coffee in the beers, then you really should give this guy a go. Very nicely done, I have to say. But in addition to that nice sweet malt base that you have, incidentally the vanilla starts to come out a little bit more as you take more and more in of this beer, and the chocolate and vanilla infusion is very nice just on top of those nutty flavours. There's a little bit of earthy hop in the back corner of the palate, it's not even really dry at all. It's very, very smooth, and as you come forward around the front of the tongue, it smooths out even more. It's just a really smooth, earthy character that you're getting out of the hops here, and it complements that bready base quite well. There's almost the smooth character of the earthy hops really complements that sweet yet just a little bit bitter malt base that you're getting from this one. But again, this is a really top class beer. I have to admit, I enjoy stouts. I mean, Brewdog Riptide is one of my favourite ones. We've also got the Old Engine Oil, even though that's a porter. Those are probably two of my favourite dark beers, and this one is just as good quality as those two beers, so give this guy a go if you get the chance. I've said it a couple of times, you really need to try this one. In terms of the mouthfeel, this one's mid-bodied, so very smooth carbonation to it. Like I said, it's got quite a creamy mouthfeel, but at the same time, there's a little bit of oily character there. There's a good bit of just a quite subtle roasted bitterness to this one. It builds as you go into the aftertaste, but overall the coffee flavours in this beer are very smooth. As I said, the earthy character from the hops is very smooth too, but overall it's actually quite sweet, and the nice milky vanilla and woody and nutty flavours in there infused together very, very nicely. And yeah, the basic point of this review is that this is a damn good beer. Fully deserves its rating of 94 on Rate Beer in my opinion. I enjoy a sweet stout. I'm not a great fan of coffee right enough, but for me, they've done this very nicely, I have to admit. So yeah, I would recommend this to people who like their sweet stouts. If you like coffee stouts as well, you probably will enjoy this, but it's not a big bitter coffee stout as you might be expecting. It's got a good blend between these really sweet and just a little bit of that dark roasted bitterness from the malt base too, but the flavours complement each other very well. It's a top class beer. That's exactly what you want when you're doing beer reviews. So yeah, go and check out the Mocha Milk Stout from Tyne Brewery in Newcastle. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As always, please let me know in the comment section below if you do happen to have tried this beer before. It's always interesting to hear from you guys. Let me know where you're trying this beer as well. It'll be interesting to see how far and wide these beers are distributed actually. So I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Like I said, until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media things. Hopefully I can return to Tyne Brewery in the near future. I'm not sure if they get these beers out in Sweden. Hopefully in the future we can get those, but I thank you once again for watching my beer reviews, and I will catch you soon with the next one. There's another English beer to come up for you fairly soon, and I'll catch you soon with that review, but there's a lot of other interesting things to come. Slange just now and go and check out Tyne Brewery. Cheers.